You're with Julian on the Brown Notes and Sleepy Joe Biden's genius move. Absolutely incredible stuff from Joe Biden lately. The Leviathan awakes. Is this the Kraken that we've been waiting for? So the Dems in America were floundering a couple of months ago. They were in a lot of trouble. The incredible support to keep the war in Ukraine going to benefit the military-industrial complex was suicide for them because it had engendered this incredible cost of living crisis globally, but in America, where things like the cost of fuel at petrol pump can kill a politician no matter what they stand for. So they were in a lot of trouble. Inflation was through the roof, and they weren't doing anything. They weren't solidified. They won their election because everyone was solidified against Donald Trump. And they had nothing on their own. And that's how people like Donald Trump get in, because everyone that supports Donald Trump supports him 100% and will vote for him 100% of the time. It doesn't matter what he does. The Democrats didn't have it. They were a disparate bunch. They didn't really have anything to go on. So we were reaching a point where these terrible things called the midterms in America happened. So you got this 4-year period of Biden being in the power, having control of the House of Representatives and Senate so that they can pass legislation. They get 2 years in and the Republicans take over the House of Representatives and block all legislation for the rest of those 2 years, completely nullifying government and possibly doing whatever they want as well. Everything's flipped. And Biden has realized that their biggest weapon is Donald Trump and MAGA Trump supporters. And Biden is going for the jugular. His Twitter releases are like Donald Trump used social media so well. He could come out with his biting, incisive things to crucify his opponents and did so very well. Biden is doing the same. I love the fact that when I look on Biden's Twitter page, followed by FU, all you fascists is the first name that comes up. But he's been slaying it. United States government official, the middle class built America and unions built the middle class. Pro-union. God bless American workers. We understand something that MAGA Republicans in Congress don't. Wall Street didn't build this country. Working people did, drawing a line between the interests of the MAGA people and Wall Street instead of saying that they're all blue collar. Drawing a line between the establishment side of MAGA, of Make America Great Again, not the working man. Our workers are the best trained in the world. You don't just decide you want to be a pipe fitter. It takes 4 or 5 years. You should be paid accordingly. He has gone for the jugular. I'll read the piece. Democrats have picked up momentum this election cycle with wins in multiple special elections. Following the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade and the FBI search of former President Trump's Florida home has thrust Trump back into the spotlight front and center. Lots of his candidates have won contentious primaries. He's consolidated his base, and his renewed presence has threatened to make November elections a choice rather than a referendum on President Biden. And make no bones about it, these MAGA Republicans are the vanguard of fascism overtaking democracy in America. They have no interest. Imagine if they ever got in again, they would have learnt from all of the mistakes that they made the last time. They would make sure that they weren't giving up power. Biden and the White House leaned into that on Thursday night in his address, with an unusual primetime address that broke no new news or made any big announcements. Instead, he took the opportunity to elevate Trump and make it a choice between what Biden and the Democrats stand for and MAGA Republican extremism, as he sees it, and their rising influence. I believe America is at an inflection point, Biden said. One of these moments that determine the shape of everything that's to come after. And now America must choose to move forward or back. And he said, MAGA forces are determined to take the country backwards to an America where there's no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. He highlighted threats to democracy as being urgent and instigated by Trump. Biden doesn't often use Trump's name, but name-checked him 3 times in this speech. With Trump back in the news as a result of Mar-a-Lago being raided, it offered Biden a way to elevate him, hold him up as a standard-bearer of the Republican Party and draw a line in the sand. It's pretty clear they want to amplify the MAGA message, said Democrat strategist Joel Payne. It almost feels like a pre-argument against what a Republican House might be pushing for the next 2 years. Good. This is what he should be doing. He came out and he called MAGAs semi-fascists. He was wrong. Why use the word semi? Sarah Palin just lost Alaska. Sarah Palin went up against a Dem and she lost for the Alaskan state for the first time in 50 years, didn't go to a Republican. She won that seat by 10% when she lost, it was won by the Republicans by 10% when Trump won. And now they've lost it for the first time in 50 years. They're losing all these special elections. The MAGA side of Trump has dominated the Republicans and they've gone out of their way to destroy anyone in the Republican Party that isn't pro-Trump. Look at the expulsion of Cheney, who was one of the few Republicans sitting on the Jan 6 committee investigating the attempted overthrow of democracy and the riot in the Capitol. She was booted by a Trump analogous opponent. And that has been happening over and over again in the Republican Party, where anyone dares speak up against Trump, they get wiped out of the party. Except when they go to the public, the MAGA candidate gets wiped out. So this is good stuff. They're toxic now to the voters. And the main reasons are, the Roe versus Wade. They overreached. And Trump even said that they overreached by abandoning Roe versus Wade and the right to abortion as a federally mandated human right in America. One of the biggest things that voters are calling out right now. We saw one of the Republican states hold a referendum on whether to abandon abortion rights or to keep them, and they voted like 60+% to keep them. The idea of going after abortion for these hard right-wing Christians is not even popular in Republican states. This is toxic poison to the voters. They've overreached. It's a great thing. And the idea of Trump being this traitor, the likes of Fox News might want to keep saying that this is horrible what's happened to him, the raid. It's not washing through with the public. We know that he had lots of classified military documents in his personal command center for no reason we've worked out yet, but we can't think of a good reason. These things aren't looking good. He's still whining about overturning the election. This is toxic to the American voter. The point is, Trump won his election without winning the popular vote. He lost by 3 million votes. He's never been half the country. And MAGA has never been even close to half the country. They're just so organized that they vote a block vote and they have more votes than the disparate people around them. There were so many people that didn't vote when Trump was elected, they could have wiped the floor with him. But he ended up galvanizing that all-time record Democratic vote. Even though he increased his vote, he got annihilated by 8 million votes in the last election against Joe Biden. So the Democrats don't have their own people that can inspire. They don't have their own policies. The last time they relied, and it's a dangerous game, on Donald Trump. And get that Donald Trump galvanizes the Republican Party. He also galvanizes the Democrat voters. And keeping him front and center is genius. Biden, it's a dangerous game to play because politics is all about momentum, and they're hitting the sweet spot in September. They've got 2 months to reach these November elections, and they're pivotal for the future of America and indeed the Western world. But Biden seems to have learned a very harsh lesson that Barack Obama didn't for 6 years of his 8 years as president. For 6 years, Barack Obama tried to unify America by reaching out to the Republicans. It was a terrible mistake. It destroyed his presidency. It was only in the last 2 years he finally realized that these people would oppose him, not because he wasn't offering them a policy, but because he was him. Anything he said, they would oppose. If he had offered each of them $1 million out of his pocket, they would oppose it. Biden seems to have realized that you cannot try and unify these people. Seeing these people now, the MAGA Republicans in the media crying about how Biden isn't unifying the country, has to be one of the most galling comments ever. The fact that they have almost in unprecedented ways tried to oppose the other half of the country, now crying about not being unified. But Biden doesn't want to unify the country. He shouldn't try to. About 40% of the country will hate him no matter what he does. He's better off calling them out. This is great tactics from from Biden. I really hope he continues it all the way through and doubles down and doubles down. And believe me, the MAGA side, they will kick off and it will get violent. But there's no other way.